In Saudi Arabia, the king has said he will not attend President Obama's summit of Gulf Arab states at Camp David later this week. This is yet another sign that the alliance between the two countries faces new strains. And it's a relationship bound not just by politics, but also by economics. Hadley Gamble has more now from London.
With the deadline for a nuclear agreement with Tehran just weeks away, President Obama's bid to bring Gulf Arab allies on board is floundering. Saudi Arabia's King Salman was the first, but not the last, Gulf Arab monarch to decline a White House invite this week for a regional security summit. Dubbed the Saudi snub, U.S. officials were quick to push back.
I know that there have been some speculation that this change in travel plans was an attempt to send a message to the United States. If so, that message was not received.
Nothing could be further from the truth that there was some snub.
Billed as an opportunity for Arab leaders to air their concerns about the P5+1 talks with Tehran, the Obama administration had planned to sweeten the deal for the Saudis and their allies with promises of more weapons and military cooperation, but stopping short of what Arab leaders were hoping for.
This has been a slow-moving train wreck over several years. The president is trying to reassure these Gulf states that if we do reach a deal with Iran, we still have their back from a security standpoint. This is a very difficult assurance to provide since we have not delivered very much on other assurances we provided in the past. And so I think our credibility is really at stake here.
The move comes just days after U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry's latest trip to the kingdom and what U.S. diplomats described as tough negotiations over the Saudi-led coalition's activities in Yemen. With no long-term or binding security commitment from the U.S. on the table, the Saudis and their allies are worried, and they say the Washington summit is not offering anything new. And while both sides deny that there's any rift in the relationship, there's no getting around that there's a disconnect between what Gulf Arab allies want and what the U.S. is willing to give.
Now, despite that disconnect, the fact remains that the United States just can't afford another failed state, which could become a breeding ground for terrorists. And at the same time, as a U.S. diplomat told me, they're still committed to securing global shipping lanes. And that means that Gulf oil exports will continue to flow. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Hadley Gamble in London.